Mark has one more verse of Jesus' words here. If any man have ears to hear, let him hear. And I probably should have put that before I ended this paragraph, so I'll add that to the end of the previous. If any man have ears to hear, let him hear. And one thing I also want to mention, the last three words before I added this, defile a man, Mark has defiled the man. And I think that is actually better. So I changed that. Mark 7:17 says, and when he was entered into the house from the people, his disciples asked him concerning the parable. Matthew 15:12, then came his disciples and said to him, know you that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? So asked him concerning the parable is different from saying this statement. Every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted. Either way, I'm definitely going to start with Mark. They go into the house. And when he was entered into the house from the people, I could say they asked him, or that his disciples came to him and said this one. Every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted shall be rooted up. Let them alone, that they be blind leaders of the blind, and if the blind shall be blind. Oh, look at that. Then answered Peter and said to him, declare us the parable. And she says, are you also yet without understanding? That's where it begins in Mark. Are you so without understanding? So their statement should come first. When he was entered into the house from the people, then came his disciples. I think I'm going to combine his disciples. Because Matthew is very clear. It's Peter that's asking this question, not all. So, Matthew now, then came his disciples, both. Asked him concerning the parable. And said to him. So I could put him, or I could leave that. Then answered Peter and said to him. Okay, so. Okay, from the rest on, I'm just going to leave it. And save for Peter asks him. So. Then came his disciples. So the rest is going to be from Matthew. And said to him, know you that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? But he answered and said, every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted shall be rooted up. Let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. Matthew has then answered Peter and said to him, Mark, it already has his disciples asked him concerning the parable. So I'm going to put Peter because that's more explained instead of just his disciples. And his disciples were the ones who asked him the first question, so that could be where that came from. Asked him concerning the parable. Then answered Peter. You know, that's not really an answer. Jesus is giving them an answer. So I think I'm going to go with, then Peter asked him, or then Peter asked and said to him, declare to us this parable. Yeah, that's what I'll do. So I'll start with Matthew, then Peter. Then Peter. Mark, just the word asked, and then I'll go on to back to Matthew, and said to him. Him, I have to put both. Declare to us this parable. Or just concerning the parable. Since I have said to him, it should be that statement, declared us the parable, instead of just concerning the parable. And I don't need to say concerning, because if he's already stating the parable in the question, you don't need to say what the question's about as a narration. So I'm just going to put parables in both. The parable, this parable, or the parable. It's not really a parable. I mean, he put it pretty clearly. There's nothing from outside which goes into a man that can defile him. That's but the things which come out of a man, they are them that defile a man. But he does say, he that has an ear, let him hear. So that's kind of his clue. Some people are not going to get it because it's a parable and it's hidden from many. So I'll leave it. Declare to us this. That's all Matthew. Parables both.